Myths are often dismissed as fantasy, stories created to explain the unexplainable. But what if some myths weren't inventions at all? What if they were memories, distorted by time, fear, and retelling, but rooted in real events humanity struggled to understand? Across ancient cultures, stories describe floods that erased civilizations, cities swallowed overnight, creatures that once walked the earth. Tonight, we explore ancient myths that may be based on real events, where legend and history blur, and truth hides beneath the story. Ancient myths that may be based on real events. Myth number 1: The Great Flood. Worldwide, flood myths appear across the globe, from Mesopotamia and India to Greece and the Americas. Civilizations that never met, all describing a world-ending flood sent by the gods. In ancient texts like the Epic of Gilgamesh, a chosen survivor builds a vessel to preserve life, eerily similar to later religious accounts. Modern science suggests that massive flooding events did occur at the end of the last ice age, when melting glaciers caused sea levels to rise rapidly, submerging coastal settlements. To ancient people, this wasn't geology. It was divine punishment, and the myth may be the echo of humanity's first great disaster. Long before satellites and climate models, humanity watched the world change with terror in its eyes. Across continents, cultures told the same story. The sky opened, the waters rose, and the world was erased. In Mesopotamia, the tale appears in the Epic of Gilgamesh, where the gods, angered by human noise and chaos, decide to cleanse the earth. One man is warned, a vessel is built, life survives. Similar stories emerge in ancient India, Greece, the Americas, and later religious traditions, cultures separated by oceans, yet united by catastrophe. Modern science suggests that at the end of the last ice age, melting glaciers caused sea levels to rise rapidly, drowning coastal settlements where early civilizations thrived. To those people, the destruction wasn't gradual, it was sudden, violent, and total. They didn't describe climate change. They described the end of the world as they knew it. And the myth preserved the memory when nothing else could. Myth number 2: Atlantis, Greece. Plato described Atlantis as an advanced civilization, wealthy, powerful, and wiped from existence in a single night. For centuries, Atlantis was dismissed as fiction. But archaeologists now point to real-world candidates, including the Minoan civilization, destroyed by a catastrophic volcanic eruption on the island of Thera. The explosion triggered tsunamis, earthquakes, and ash clouds that devastated entire regions. To survivors, the destruction would have seemed sudden, total, and divine. Atlantis may not be a place, but a memory of a civilization lost to nature's fury. When Plato described Atlantis, he spoke of a civilization far ahead of its time, wealthy, powerful, and morally corrupt. According to him, it vanished beneath the sea in a single night of earthquakes and floods. For centuries, Atlantis was dismissed as allegory. But history has a way of resurfacing. Around 1600 BCE, the volcanic island of Thera erupted with one of the most powerful explosions in human history. The blast triggered tsunamis, earthquakes, and ash clouds that devastated the Minoan civilization, a culture advanced in architecture, trade, and art. Cities were abandoned, harbors destroyed, survivors scattered. To later generations, the story would lose its details, but not its meaning. Atlantis may not have been a single place, but a memory of sudden annihilation, preserved as myth. Myth number 3: Sodom and Gomorrah, Middle East. Ancient texts describe cities consumed by fire from the sky. For generations, this was seen purely as moral allegory. But archaeological evidence near the Dead Sea suggests a massive airburst explosion, similar to a meteor detonation, that flattened settlements and burned the land. Extreme heat, shockwaves, instant destruction. To ancient witnesses, there was only one explanation: the heavens had turned against them. The ancient story is brutal and brief. Cities consumed by fire from the sky. The land left scorched and lifeless. No warning, no escape. For generations, the tale of Sodom and Gomorrah was read as moral symbolism, divine punishment for corruption. But near the Dead Sea, archaeologists uncovered evidence of something extraordinary: a massive airburst explosion, similar to the Tunguska event in 1908. Temperatures soared instantly, shockwaves flattened buildings. The region became uninhabitable. To ancient witnesses, there was no concept of meteors or atmospheric detonations. There was only fire falling from heaven. The myth did not exaggerate, it translated terror into meaning. Myth number 4: Dragons. Worldwide, from China to Europe, dragons appear everywhere, guarding treasure, breathing fire, ruling the skies. But why would so many cultures imagine the same creature? One theory suggests ancient people discovered dinosaur fossils, massive skulls, claws, and bones emerging from the earth. Without science, these remains would be interpreted as monsters. In some regions, volcanic eruptions may have inspired stories of fire-breathing beasts beneath the ground. The dragon may not be imaginary, but misunderstood. Dragons appear everywhere. In Europe, they hoard gold and breathe fire. In China, they command storms and rivers. In the Middle East, they guard forbidden knowledge. How did cultures with no contact imagine the same creature? One possibility lies beneath the ground. Ancient people regularly uncovered enormous bones, skulls larger than any animal they knew, claws longer than swords, ribs like pillars. Without science, these remains could only belong to monsters. Add volcanic eruptions, fire bursting from mountains, poisonous smoke, trembling earth, and the idea of a fire-breathing beast beneath the land becomes inevitable. Dragons may not have ruled the skies, but they ruled the imagination because the world itself once felt alive and angry. Myth number 5: The wrath of the gods, natural disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes. Ancient myths often describe gods battling, shaking the earth, splitting mountains, burning cities. These stories may have been early attempts to explain natural disasters that struck without warning. Before science, assigning blame to gods was the only way to make sense of chaos. The myths weren't wrong, they were human. In ancient stories, the earth shakes because gods are fighting. Storms rage because a deity is furious. Volcanoes erupt because something beneath the world is awakening. These myths weren't superstition, they were explanations. Without tectonic theory or meteorology, disasters needed intention. Chaos needed a face. When an earthquake destroyed a city in seconds, it wasn't chance. It was judgment. Myth gave suffering a reason, and that reason helped people endure. The gods weren't real in the way people believed, but the fear absolutely was. Myth number 6: Troy and the Trojan War, Greece. For centuries, the Trojan War was believed to be pure legend. Then, in the 19th century, ruins were discovered in modern-day Turkey, evidence of a fortified city destroyed by war. While the gods and heroes may be exaggerated, the conflict itself appears real. Myth preserved history when written records did not. For centuries, the Trojan War was thought to be nothing more than poetic fantasy, heroes, gods, and a wooden horse. Then archaeologists uncovered ruins at the site of Troy. Layer upon layer of destruction. Evidence of warfare, burned walls. While the gods and legends were embellished, the conflict itself appears real. Myth didn't invent the war. It remembered it. In a time before history books, storytelling was the archive. Myth number 7: The sun disappearing, global. Many ancient cultures describe days when the sun vanished. Dark skies, cold, fear. Scientists now believe massive volcanic eruptions or meteor impacts could have filled the atmosphere with ash, blocking sunlight for weeks or months. To ancient people, the sun didn't dim. It died, and the myth recorded the terror. Ancient cultures across the world recorded the same terrifying event. The sun vanished, the sky darkened, crops failed, cold spread. In Norse myths, this signaled Ragnarok. In Chinese records, it marked divine imbalance. In the Americas, it was the death of the sun. Scientists now believe massive volcanic eruptions or cosmic impacts filled the atmosphere with ash, blocking sunlight for months or even years. To ancient people, the sun didn't dim, it died. The myth captured humanity's oldest fear: what if the light never returns? Myth number 8: The fall of the sky, worldwide. Across ancient cultures, there is a hauntingly similar story. The sky collapsed. In China, ancient records describe a time when the heavens cracked open, raining fire and chaos upon the earth. In Norse mythology, the sky is prophesied to shatter during Ragnarok, crushing the world beneath it. Indigenous traditions in the Americas speak of stars falling, mountains breaking, and the world tilting out of balance. To ancient people, the sky was not empty space. It was a solid dome, a divine structure holding back chaos. So when the ground shook, when fire streaked across the heavens, when thunder tore the air apart, there was only one explanation. The sky itself was falling. Modern science offers unsettling possibilities. Massive meteor showers, asteroid airbursts, cosmic debris burning through the atmosphere. Events capable of lighting the night sky like daylight, triggering shockwaves, fires, and terror across entire regions. Without knowledge of space, ancient witnesses described what they saw in the only way they could, as the collapse of the heavens. The myth does not exaggerate the fear. It preserves it, because for those who lived through it, the sky didn't just fall. It betrayed them. Myth number 9: The day the earth stopped, worldwide. Across ancient civilizations, there are chilling accounts of a day when time itself seemed to break. The sun froze in the sky. Shadows did not move. The world stood still. In ancient texts from the Middle East, China, and the Americas, stories describe a day longer than any other, a moment when night refused to come or dawn never arrived. In some traditions, warriors fought beneath a sun that would not set. In others, crops burned under endless daylight. To ancient people, the movement of the sun was the heartbeat of reality. When it stopped, the universe was no longer obeying its rules. Modern theories suggest possible explanations: a massive atmospheric event, a powerful solar storm, or even a catastrophic astronomical occurrence that altered Earth's rotation or perception of time. Whether literal or symbolic, the myth records something deeply unsettling, a moment when the natural order failed. The day the Earth stopped was not just about time. It was about helplessness. Myth number 10: The Age of Darkness. Worldwide, nearly every ancient culture speaks of a time when the world was plunged into darkness. The sun dimmed, the sky turned red, the air grew cold. In Norse legend, this marked the beginning of Ragnarok. In Chinese records, it was a sign of cosmic imbalance. In Mesoamerican tradition, it ended an age of humanity. For years, sometimes generations, the world was said to suffer beneath a dying sky. Science now points to possible causes: massive volcanic eruptions that filled the atmosphere with ash, or asteroid impacts that blocked sunlight and cooled the planet. To ancient people, this was not climate change. It was the end of the world. The Age of Darkness represents humanity's deepest fear: not destruction in a moment, but slow extinction. Myths are not mistakes. They are memories carved into story. They tell us what it felt like to face the unknown without answers, to survive disasters without understanding, and to remember when history could not. Long after cities crumbled and names were forgotten, the stories remained. Because sometimes, the only way to preserve the truth is to turn it into legend. Myths are not lies. They are memories, told by people without words for science. Every legend hides a question. Every story hides a fear. And sometimes, a truth. If you enjoyed this journey into the forgotten past, subscribe to Tales of the World for stories where myth and reality collide. Which ancient myth should we uncover next?